So we'll just step out on my deck and I'll show you what I've done. What I've done is I've added some lights. We added some Christmas lights. I have these strings of Christmas lights that are that were just stored away and not being used for anything except for a display in December every year, of course. But this time of year, they don't do very much. So we put up these lights and also dug out a spotlight and put it up there. And that's just the neighbor's dog making noise. And so you can see that we've made it so that we can kind of light up things on the deck. There's the spotlight, and there you can see the Christmas lights hanging up there. Okay, so that's the project I've worked on. It didn't take very long, but just a little bit of an upgrade to my deck. But there's a psalm that I was drawn to as I thought about what we did to our deck, and I'll just read a portion of it to you. It's Psalm 72, and actually I'm going to read all the way from verses 1 through 7. Give the king your justice, O God, and your righteousness to a king's son. May he judge your people with righteousness and your poor with justice. May the mountains yield prosperity for the people and the hills in righteousness. May he defend the cause of the poor of the people, give deliverance to the needy, and crush the oppressor. And these are the verses that I was thinking of, starting at verse 5 from Psalm 72. May he live while the sun endures, and as long as the moon throughout all generations. May he be like rain that falls on the mown grass, like showers that water the earth. In his days may righteousness flourish and peace abound until the moon is no more. Nothing seems to last very long. You know, I pulled out that string of Christmas lights to put up around my deck, and I had to replace half of the bulbs because they didn't light up when I plugged in the lights. Fortunately, I had some backup ones, and I was able to get them to work. But I have no idea how old those bulbs are, how old that string of Christmas lights are. They were stuck in the attic in the garage of this house when we bought it, and I didn't discover that until a couple of years later. And the previous homeowner that we bought it from, said, "Well, that was just a little surprise for you, some decorations, and there were lights and some other things that were up there." But I have no idea how old those things are. But I'm not surprised or really that disappointed that all the bulbs didn't light up and I had to replace many of them, because I recognize that no matter how they are manufactured, they will not last forever. In fact, nothing lasts forever, it seems, that we have here on this earth, that we have made. You know, the sun, which lights up our world every day, and the moon, which we see every night, they won't last forever either. But they have survived anything we humans have manufactured throughout the history of the world. So in this psalm, which David composed for the coronation of his son Solomon, who would succeed him as king, we find a precursor to the anthem that those of us who are part of the British Empire sing for the kings and queens of Britain when we say, "Long live the king," or as is the current circumstance, "Long live the queen." Verse 5, may he live while the sun endures, and as long as the moon throughout all generations. And in verse 7, in his days may righteousness flourish and peace abound until the moon is no more. That's certainly being more than optimistic. But it reminds me how much we depend on God for life and purpose that is more than fleeting and temporary. I'm not a king of anything, but I would like to do things that will mean something for longer than the life of a Christmas light bulb. God has called me into the mission of Jesus and his eternal kingdom. That means my life can be about eternity, not hopeless mortality. Even better, I can realistically hope in the prospect of not only my life enduring as long as the sun and moon exist, but for eternity. Solomon had a good run as king after succeeding David, but that's nothing compared to what God has promised me in Christ Jesus. And so after it gets dark and I go out there and sit on my deck and turn on those lights, and probably the rest of those old light bulbs, one by one, will not come on and have to be tossed, I'm going to remember that for as long as the sun and moon endures, God has made me part of his kingdom. And in fact, for eternity, he has made me and you part of his kingdom. God's grace is for you in 2022.